Now, if you've been on social media at all since Christmas, and I know I need to get a life, but there's still plenty of news that I need to follow, the one politician who's been smiling like a Cheshire cat has been the architect of Brexit, Nigel Farage. As soon as Boris Johnson ratified the Brexit agreement and signed a, well, very rough version of the trade deal he promised, Nigel popped his head up again to declare the war is over. He also reminded followers that 17 years ago, when he announced that he wanted to leave the EU, people laughed at him. Well, they're not laughing anymore. But judging by his latest video posted on Twitter, Farage has found his next battle. And after his eventual success with Brexit, it's a prediction we should all take seriously. His next battle is with China. He believes China's doing their best to take over the world. He says they're killing democracy in places like Hong Kong and they'll do it elsewhere. And that the communist regime poses a massive threat to the world, a threat to our freedoms and a threat to our way of life. Here's part of what he had to say over the weekend.
This Chinese Communist Party pose a massive threat to the world, a threat to our freedoms, a threat to our way of life. To make sure people understand who China are, what the Chinese Communist Party is, what it's doing to its own people, what it wants to do to the rest of the world. We need to wake up to the threat that is posed by China.
As I've always said with China, the West will stand strong against this mob by using its strength in numbers. Now, what Farage seemed to be intimating there, though, was how dangerous China's thirst for power and dominance has become. He used the word threat several times in that clip. What sort of threat is he suggesting? Well, remember what Senator Jim Molan said just last week. The former Major General warned that war with China was becoming increasingly likely amid ongoing international tensions with Australia and the United States. He said it's more likely than currently recognised that China will go to war with the US in the next 3 to 10 years.
We're likely to be collateral damage in a war between China and the US, but we've got to prepare for it. And the first step is not to make anything bigger or smaller or put more money into anything. It's to come up with a strategy.
As he says, Australia is not the main game, of course, if there were to be war between those two superpowers. But we've got to prepare because our position in the Pacific makes us, if not a target, at least collateral damage. Jim Molan says the communist power is becoming increasingly aggressive and war is on the horizon. Now, before you scoff at that, think about where we were with China 12 months ago. Who would have ever thought then China would launch a campaign of hate and hurt against not only our reputation, but so many of our industries, as much as it has. Now, it's clearly content with strangling our businesses and our previous industrial strengths. But to what end? Where does it end? To think that Australia will kowtow and bow to the way that they run their government and say all the nice things about communism that they would like us to say is just unbelievable. So to what end? The days of having any kind of trust in this regime is over. They were our days of ignorance. It's time we woke up and we prepared ourselves for every kind of eventuality. The warning about China from Nigel Farage, I think, is timely, it is poignant, and may turn out to be as prophetic as his prediction 17 years ago on Brexit.